Coming up on PAC News, the president prepares for tonight's State of the Union.
And will Anthony Davis be a Pelican by the end of Thursday?
And a look ahead to the weekend's parades.
Sanchez.
And I'm Tyler Wan, and welcome to PAC News.
President Donald Trump will be on Capitol Hill tonight for the first time since that 35-day shutdown and the debate over border security funding, and a week after the State of the Union was originally scheduled. Kristen Holmes is on Capitol Hill with a preview of what we can expect tonight.
Looking to get the administration back on track after a costly government shutdown, aides say President Trump will try something different in Tuesday's State of the Union speech, appeal for bipartisanship.
This president is going to call for an end to the politics of resistance, retribution, and call for more comedy, C-O-M-I-T-Y.
The president is telling reporters he simply can't understand why Democrats would want to impeach him, given the job he's done.
The only way they can win, because they can't win the election, is to bring out the artificial way of impeachment. And the problem is you can't impeach somebody for doing the best job of any president in the history of our country for the first 2 years.
But a new CNN poll finds Mr. Trump's job approval at a cringeworthy 40%, as the public is adamantly against the idea of the president declaring a national emergency to build his border wall. By contrast, it's House Speaker Nancy Pelosi who bested Mr. Trump in their showdown, whose numbers are on the rise, above where they were before the shutdown.
And Virginia Governor Ralph Northam is clinging to power. The Democrats originally said he would not step down after he was blasted for a racist picture in his 1984 medical yearbook. But sources say he's now unsure if he'll be able to rehab his image. Northam first apologized, but quickly took that back, saying he wasn't in the photo. Opinions are mixed. He should stay? Others say he should go.
Cannot effectively govern. He needs to leave.
And he says he wasn't in that picture, too. I think we ought to fairly ask him, did he know the picture was on his page of that yearbook? And then 3, really, he ought to be judged in the context of his whole life.
Fairfax is facing allegations of sexual assault for a 2004 encounter he says was 100% consensual. The claim was first published on a conservative website.
While the president will address the high cost of prescription drugs, a series of lawsuits targeting the epidemic of opioid abuse is thrusting a powerful yet little-known family into the spotlight. The Sackler family is one of the richest in the U.S. According to new court documents, they allegedly made billions of dollars on Oxycontin and possibly fueled an epidemic. Miguel Marquez reports.
23-year-old Corey Merrill started on the opiate Oxycontin after surgery. He eventually turned to heroin. An overdose killed him 8 years ago. His mother says he'd still be alive, except for Purdue Pharma, the company that makes Oxycontin.
They are ruthless people who are just out for money at the expense of our children.
Merrill was one of thousands in Massachusetts alone whose lives were destroyed by opiate abuse. His mother, Cheryl Jouer, and now the state of Massachusetts lays much of the blame at the feet of Purdue Pharma for practices they say not only deceptively marketed the drug, but pursued a strategy of selling Oxycontin and the treatment for addiction to it. Massachusetts wants the company to pay possibly billions of dollars to communities, the state, and families devastated by addiction. The complaint, initially filed last summer, had large sections redacted. The full lawsuit shows why Purdue may have fought to keep the redactions, page after page of information showing the Sacklers, the company, executives, and the massive amounts of money they made, stricken from public view until now.
Measles infections are continuing to pop up across the nation in at least 10 states and now Texas. And they're continuing to spike in Clark County, Washington, where they now have at least 49 cases. The public health director there says the outbreak is not only endangering the health of the community, but it's also seriously hurting the health department's resources. Red Bennon has more.
Any case of measles is an outbreak. The measles outbreak in Clark County, Washington has prompted a state of emergency.
It already is out of hand. I've been a public health official for about 30 years. And this is the first time I've seen a measles outbreak like this.
For the health department battling the wave of new cases, it's all hands on deck.
We've instituted incident command. That's a system that's used, for example, to fight wildfires.
As cases flare up, staffing is being spread thin.
People are getting tired. We have our environmental health staff who do things like restaurant inspections. Some of them are being pulled into the outbreak response.
The outbreak is also putting the county and state under major financial strain, according to the county's health officer, Dr. Alan Melnick.
We could be using this money for doing other important public health activities in terms of protecting the public.
Melnick says he doesn't have a crystal ball, but he's only expecting the outbreak to get worse.
If this goes on for, weeks and months, not only am I concerned about, potential death and other really bad complications from this.
I'm Reed Binion reporting.
We have Lacey McBride right outside to tell us how much longer this gloomy weather is going to last. What's happening out there, Lacey?
It's been a gloomy couple of weeks and clouds aren't expected anytime soon. Temperatures remain in the mid-70s through Thursday, mid-50s on Friday, when they're expected to stay in the mid-50s over the weekend. Saturday for the Chewbacca's parade, we expect a high of 56, and then on Monday, coming back up to the mid-70s for another gloomy, cloudy, and rainy week. Back to you, Tyler.
What do a clinical psychologist, a marketing consultant, and a scientist have in common?
We'll tell you coming up in PAC News.
Action!
A new condominium complex is stirring up trouble in a local neighborhood. Andrew Callahan tells us more.
In the Bywater neighborhood, known for its street art and colorful shotgun homes, a major development is on the horizon. The Saxony Condominiums, a luxury development spearheaded by developer Jared Ward, who chose the Bywater for its unique vibe.
It's going to attract a lot of residents who want to get back to the feel of a traditional New Orleans neighborhood. It's almost like a gumbo of New Orleans uniqueness.
However, not all neighbors share Jared Ward's enthusiasm for this new development. Many Bywater locals say that having a luxury condominium next door will change the fabric of the neighborhood for the worse. In fact, many neighbors say they're already feeling the effects of the Saxony. Artist Mona Grady, who has sold art out of her house on Bartholomew Street for decades, lost almost all of her business when the Saxony began construction last year.
No one came down the street. I'm gonna tell you this right now. You sucked my living away from me.
Also affected is Tulane University professor Maggie Mahoney, who lives just across the street from the Saxony. She discovered her home listed for sale just months before the condo's opening. Because of this, she's choosing to move out.
They're going to sell the house. It's possible that the people that buy the house will want tenants. They'll definitely want to raise the rent. The reason why I'm moving is because I feel like I'm going to get kicked out, and I just want to be a little bit in control of that.
Despite concerns, Jared Ward believes the Bywater will learn to embrace the Saxony.
And what it's doing right now is obviously a regentrification. Like so many neighborhoods, New York seeing it with Brooklyn, Boston seeing it with Cambridge. We really do feel that the Bywater will kind of fold into that.
The Saxony will open its doors in late February. Units are currently listed at between $335,000 and $665,000. This is Andrew Callahan, PAC News.
Experts project that Americans will spend $2 billion on pet insurance by 2022. Claire Mouton tells us more about the lengths people are willing to go to protect their pet.
Sophia D'Amico didn't give much thought to pet insurance until her newfound puppy, Honey, started having complications.
When I got her from the pound, I noticed she was having accidents she couldn't really control. And I was really worried because she was so sick, and I was also worried because as a college student, insurance I know is super expensive.
According to the North American Pet Health Insurance Association, in 2018, pet owners in the U.S. made pet insurance a $1 billion industry for the first time. As a Tulane student, Tomeko opted out of using pet insurance due to other expenses, but now she wishes she didn't pass the buck.
The medicines were like upwards of $300.
However, potential pet owners beware. Only a certain array of treatments will be covered. Vaccines and annual exams are not.
It depends on like the pet insurance, but some of it, like, they don't pay you back if it's not like, oh, it's not an accident.
Know what you're getting yourself into. It's important to check your finances before adopting a pet. You don't want the pet to be in a bad situation or bad home.
So I would recommend seriously looking at your financial situation before you go out and just adopt.
Sophia has since started working to pay for pet insurance so that she and Honey can live a happy and healthy life together. Claire Mouton, PAC News.
After the break, we'll have where high school athletes are going to college and the latest on the Anthony Davis trade situation.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move, so I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
Well, the results are in for Super Bowl ratings. Here's Ryan Micklin to tell us if Boycott Bowl made a difference.
It may have been the lowest scoring Super Bowl in history, but the New England Patriots are celebrating their historic win, taking home their 6th championship title from Super Bowl 53. Omar Jimenez is outside Mercedes-Benz Stadium with a look back at the game.
They say offense sells tickets and defense wins games. Well, in the New England Patriots case, it certainly wins Super Bowls. Walking away with their 6th Lombardi trophy, the Patriots tie the Pittsburgh Steelers for most Super Bowl wins all time. And you can't talk Patriots without mentioning quarterback Tom Brady, who now has the most Super Bowl rings for an individual player in history.
I was proud of him at 5. I was proud of him when he didn't have any, but now that he's had 6, it's extra sweet.
Sunday's game also made history as the lowest scoring Super Bowl game. The only touchdown wasn't scored until well into the 4th quarter. And with such underwhelming action on the scoreboard, it's no wonder many at home watched for the commercial appeal. Companies like Bud Light, Doritos, the NFL itself, and even the Washington Post getting in on the action. The ads range from inspirational to silly and everything in between and cost advertisers more than $5 million for a 30-second spot. But no matter how low scoring it may have been, a win is a win.
It wasn't pretty, but I'll take an ugly loss or ugly win over a pretty loss any day.
In Atlanta, I'm Omar Jimenez reporting.
Well, New Orleans had better things to do than watch Super Bowl 53. On Sunday, New Orleanians took to the streets to boycott the game, and the city's lack of interest certainly had an impact on the game's ratings. Super Bowl 53 received a 26.1 rating in New Orleans, which was the lowest Super Bowl rating ever in the New Orleans market. Saints fans gathered downtown on Sunday to poke fun at the NFL refs, listen to Choppa and other musicians perform live, and watch a replay of the Saints' Super Bowl victory over the Colts. Of course, this comes in the wake of the NOLA no call that cost the Saints a Super Bowl berth in the NFC Championship game. According to Sports Media Watch, Super Bowl 53 delivered the lowest Super Bowl ratings in 16 years. Now the NFL season has officially come to an end. Saints fans can start to look ahead to the 2019 NFL Draft. And Anthony Davis and the Pelicans are still in limbo as we are just 2 days away from the NBA's trade deadline. The question everyone's asking, will the Pelicans deal him away before February 7th or wait until the summer when they can entertain Boston's offers? According to ESPN's NBA insider Adrian Wojnarowski, the Pelicans have been in serious discussions with Lakers president Magic Johnson on Anthony Davis, but hinted that the Lakers must overcome one obstacle: getting enough people sold within the Pelicans organization on the idea of dealing Davis away before the deadline on Thursday. Boston Celtics president Danny Ainge has put his hat in the race, trying to convince the Pelicans to wait until the offseason as the Celtics look to lock up Kyrie Irving by pairing him up with another all-star like Anthony Davis. Although Davis's father didn't hold back when he said that he doesn't want his son to be a Boston Celtic. So, will Davis represent the Pelicans or another NBA team when he travels to North Carolina to participate as a reserve in the NBA All-Star Game later this month? The Anthony Davis saga has become the talk of the NBA over the last week, but for now, the only thing we can do is wait. And life without AD has been rough so far, with starters like Julius Randle, Etuan Moore, Nikola Mirotic, and of course Anthony Davis all out. Drew Holiday led a short-handed Pelican squad into battle last night, but came up just short in a 109-107 loss to the Indiana Pacers. Holiday continues to stand out as one of the biggest NBA All-Star snubs so far after nearly tallying a triple-double with 19 points, 11 rebounds, and 9 assists in the loss. The Pelicans' offseason signing of Jahlil Okafor continues to pay dividends for them in the absence of Anthony Davis. Okafor has now tallied 3 double-doubles in his last 5 games and finished last night's game with 25 points and 13 rebounds. Randle and Mirotic missed their 6th straight game due to injury and are considered questionable for tomorrow night's contest in Chicago against the Bulls. Davis was cleared to practice yesterday and hasn't played since January 18th with a finger injury. The Pelicans have now lost 3 straight and sit at 23-31 on the season. And tomorrow marks the official signing day for uncommitted high school football players across the country. It could be a big one for Ed Orgeron and the LSU Tigers as they finally look to make a splash at Amite High School right here in Louisiana. Orgeron and the Tigers have been locked in a year-long battle with Nick Saban in Alabama for Amite 4-star defensive lineman Ishmael Sofsher. Sofsher is the 47th ranked player nationally and the 3rd highest ranked prospect in the state in this class, according to the 247 Sports composite rankings. Tomorrow, it will all end for Sofsher as he will be announcing his decision live on ESPN at 2 p.m. It looks like it will come down to LSU and Alabama, but at this point, it's anyone's guess. Sources on LSU's side seem to think that Alabama has the edge here. And Sofsher's Amite teammate Devontae Lee will be signing tomorrow at 1 p.m. LSU has been after Lee for the majority of his recruitment, and the 4-star wide receiver is fully expected to put pen to paper with LSU tomorrow. Sources were confident that the Tigers could flip 4-star cornerback Christian Williams out of Daphne, Alabama, but that won't be the case anymore. Williams has been committed to Alabama since April of 2018 and is ranked as the 160th player nationally and the 7th highest ranked player in the state of Alabama in this class. With Alabama's 2019 class filled to the brim, sources expect Williams to explore his options and instead sign with the Miami Hurricanes tomorrow.
Wondering what parades will roll this weekend? Stay tuned.
Back to you, Lester.
Thanks, Taylor. And in our final story of the night,
Maroon has been ranked as one of the top student newspapers in the nation by the Princeton Review.
With the Super Bowl behind us, New Orleanians are now turning their focus to Mardi Gras. Indy Yarborough tells us about a new craft store in Mid-City with all of your Mardi Gras needs.
What do a clinical psychologist, a marketing consultant, and a scientist have in common? They're 3 crafty muses with a passion for glitter, and they've got the store to prove it. That store is called NOLA Craft Culture. It's run by 3 New Orleans women, Virginia Saucy, Lisette Constantine, and Nori Pritchard, who ride together in the Muses Mardi Gras Parade.
One day, Lisette and I were glittering at Jazz Fest in the Folk Village. She goes, I wish I owned a craft store just for New Orleans people. And I said, it's so funny you say that, Because 5 years ago, I wrote up a business plan for a New Orleans cultural craft store.
New Orleans resident Tara Luparello says the store has it all.
If you can't find what you need in this store, you don't need it.
According to Saucy, plans for the shop came together fast.
We closed on our small business loan 2 days before Thanksgiving. And by the day after Thanksgiving, we had ordered, by midnight that night, I think we had ordered all of our inventory.
NOLA Craft Culture has been open since January 4th, and the owners tell me there are more than 2.5 tons of glitter on site.
I am not in a float, I am not in a crew, I just like glitter.
This is a store for all seasons. We decorate for St. Patrick's Day, St. Joseph's Day. We have something going on every season.
And Saucy says NOLA Craft Culture isn't just about the supplies. It's about sharing a love for New Orleans culture with anyone who walks through the door. India Yarbrough, PAC News.
Well, music's still a few weeks out, but Chewbacca's is set for this Saturday at 7 in the Marigny. The following weekend, Crew de Vue kicks off at 6:30 in the French Quarter. Slidell's Crew of Bilge is set to roll at 11 a.m., and Slidell's Crew of Poseidon rolls that evening at 6. And Crew Delusion wraps up next weekend's Saturday parades in the Quarter. You can head to MardiGrasNewOrleans.com for the full parade schedule.
That's going to do it for this edition of PAC News. Have a great rest of your day.